Hi and welcome to the Altenew Educators Color Me Autumn video hop. I am going to show you how to make this sunflower out of everything fun and autumn, as well as that cool background back there you see behind it. You see the acorns, you see the cool background. There is a technique for that. This is like a 2 techniques in 1. We're going to be using the Garden Friend die set from the Mini Delight Garden Friend set. We'll use a stamp for the sentiment, but primarily going to use the dies, the acorns, and the leaves. This is a must-have die set because of all the leaves. That background is a piece of watercolor cardstock that was gessoed, and I'm going to show you right now how to achieve that velvety look using the Altenew alcohol inks. I got 2 yellows, 2 greens, and 1 blue. The names of them will be listed in the description box below. But you want to take your cardstock, figure out what orientation you want. Now again, this is watercolor cardstock that I had applied gesso to and let it dry overnight really well. So since this is a portrait style card, I'm going to hold the cardstock over that towel there and start with my yellow inks at one side of the cardstock. I'm starting at the top and working the way down. I got 2 yellows because I wanted a lighter and a darker. One is an alcohol refill and one is just an alcohol ink. It doesn't matter as long as it's alcohol ink. And I'm just going to let it do its thing there. I'm not using any heat guns or anything. This is all going to be an air dry process. So now I'm going to add some greens. Again, I got 2 different greens to get some good depth in there. I'm going to let that do its thing, that one, and then we're going to bring in the other green. Are we? Are we not? I don't remember. Oh no, we're going to spritz it with alcohol first. That's right. So we got yellow and greens at the top, spritzing with 91% isopropyl alcohol, tapping it so that all of that drips down. I'm going to keep spraying it. You see how it gets those little, they're not bubbles, but just those little speckles of alcohol. After a while of holding it there, not a while, but after a few minutes of holding it there, you can see how those lines spread out and soften. That's because of the gesso. So now I'm flipping it around and I want to get some color to the bottom of the card. So now I'm coming in with my darker alcohol ink green. I'm going to do the same exact thing that I just did at the other end with the yellow and the green, but this time we're going to do green. And this is where we're going to bring in the blue. Not a lot, just enough, and it's going to look really dark here, but you'll see as this process continues how these colors soften and lighten up. Like I said, it comes out kind of like velvet looking. So right now it looks pretty dark and severe, but that gesso is going to work its magic once it gets activated with that alcohol and on top of that ink there. So again, spritz, spritz. You want to see those little speckles. The more speckles you get, the softer it's going to look. It's not really to make it run. It's just to make it react, I think, with the gessos is how it's working. So I'm going to hold it up, let it sit there, and let it run. Now, this is kind of time-lapsed here, so you can see it doesn't take long. And actually, you won't even realize that the change is happening unless, even if you stare at it, I swear, it just happens. It's so cool. See that? It looks velvety, and it starts to just soften all together. Now from this point, depending on how you want to work it, you can just keep spraying it with alcohol. You see I turned it on its side and I'm spritzing it again. And I'll let it do its thing that way. And you can just keep doing this and doing this and doing this. And again, it does not need to be heat set once that alcohol absorbs. It is dry and it is good to go, but you can keep reactivating it and keep working on different areas. You see right here, I'm working on that one spot at the bottom. I kind of want some at the top there. Now I'm going to just tap it off and see how we like it. I kind of like that. I like how it's moving around. Get some more alcohol on there. So yeah, you can just keep playing this while you're doing other things. This is a good project. in itself just to do. Sit down and do some panels like this, have them in your crafting arsenal ready to go. I'm going to try and break up that little spot down there. Now you're never going to get two of these the same, and whatever happens with it is it happens. So it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be what it is, and I just think it's really cool. So now I'm going to set it off to the side and let it set. So how do we do these leaves for the petals of the sunflower? Here we go. We got I took 8.5 by 11 sheet of the classic crest cardstock and cut it down the middle. And so for the first panel, we're going to be inking up. You see I've got the 3 colors of yellow ink there. We're going to start with the lightest, going around, kind of like a circle, you know, as much of a circle as you can make, but going around with, let's see, that was mild yellow, and now it looks like we're using maple yellow. And so then you're going to take the second darkest color and go towards the inside. What we're doing is creating, what's a good word? We're creating depth for the leaves so that they have shadow and depth, yeah. Depth on the project, on the finished project. We want the leaves to have light parts and shadow parts. And you'll see, I'm going to show you how to place the die when you cut these out so that you get a good bit of light and dark shadow on each leaf. Now we're going to do the orange layer because there was 3 layers, right? There's the yellow petals, leaves, then there was the oranges, and then there were the darker oranges. So now we're going to do the blending for the orange layer of leaf petals. Again, lightest color around the edge. Now, of course, this is purely for texture and depth. This is not perfect ink blending. It doesn't have to be. It just needs to be consistent, meaning you don't want big streaks. You don't want big white spots. You do want to overlap your colors really well. Yeah, you want to start with a light hand, even pressure, go all around, go all around. Yes, this actually does take a while. I will tell you that, but it's really worth it, and you end up with a lot of extra leaves. So really, one and done for your fall cards. You could probably just do this once and have extras and have enough to send out in all your cards. So yeah, I am bringing in coral red here, but it's not really. I like it because it's not really red. It's pink enough that it can work with these oranges, and it's going to give us another complete tone of orange. Watch when I'm bringing back in orange cream to go over that coral red. Look at how it just blossoms in that color. That orange just makes it pop. So that's why we brought in the coral red there. And then just bringing back in the lightest orange to kind of soften all the edges, blend it out really well. Because like I said, you don't want hard edges. You do want a good soft blend if you can get it. The softest kind of blend you can get. And the third layer, which is going to be for the petal leaves that are the closest to the center of the flower. Same process. Start with the lightest, which is the melted butterscotch in this case. Again, light even pressure all the way around. You could do this on a full sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock if you really wanted to have enough of this inked look for, like, you know, if you're doing a lot of leaves or something. You can do it for flowers. You can do it in, you know, blues and grays for snowflakes, whatever you're doing. But this is the best way to fill the whole paper with good gradient colors. Like I said, you're going to even see as soon as I start cutting it that even the smallest leaves are going to have really great light and shadow spots. So this is the darker of the colors here filling in the middle. And again, it's hard with these darker colors that you really got to have a light hand. It just be a light hand, but consistent, and then you won't get any weird, crazy streaks or splatters or splotches. But again, with this darker layer, I am coming in again with the melted butterscotch, and I'm just going to give it an overall blend like I did on that orange layer. And that just livens it up. Gives it a little more liveliness, a little more autumn fire, I guess you could call it. I like that. It's so pretty. And then, of course, you know, the fresh dye inks are so awesome. Just when you go sit them off to the side and let them set up, they just start like magically blending again into each other. So there are our layers. Now, I'm going to take the die, and you can see the die there. It's got all different shapes of leaves on it. And I'm going to show you how to set up the die on these to run through your embossing and cutting machine. So you want to place the die, you can see one way here, and then move it around, and then flip the die and move it around the other way. That way you're going to get leaves from all parts of the die with all different shadows and lights areas on them. Just keep rotating the die as you rotate it around the cardstock. So now we're going back to that background that the flower is going to be built on. You can see just by letting it sit there in the time it took me to blend those panels, it has completely changed and turned into this very, very soft velvety look. That was a 5x7 panel, so I'm going to trim off a 1/4 inch on alongside and the top side so that I get a nice fit in there. Nice little border of the what color is that? Forest Fern card base, pardon me. I almost forgot what I was looking at there. And I'm using the super sticky tape. It's a great tape. It is super sticky, and it's a tear tape. So once you place it down, you just rip it off where you don't need it. Rips really easily, and you want something that is super sticky and really well adhesive. You want a really good adhesive because that panel has got a lot of mixed media on it now, and it's really going to be heavy. So I don't even suggest liquid glue. I suggest tacking it down with this heavy duty super sticky tear tape. So there we go. We got our panel. And I love it. I just love how that looks, how that comes out. It's just a good, it makes it look like a photograph effect where the item that you're photographing in the foreground is clear and crisp, but then the area behind it is kind of fuzzy. I think I don't know what that's called because I'm not a photographer, but I think that gives it that kind of a look. So I love that. So to build the flower, I've got a 2.5 inch circle cut from brown cardstock. I'm going to place it first because I want to see where we're going to be positioning all the petal leaves. But I also want to add my sentiment, which is just a cluster I made from the leaves out of the same Forest Fern cardstock and the embossed sentiment and the antique gold embossing powder. I put that on now so that I know where to stop putting my, so that I can get the good composition when I put the leaves on. So we're going to put the sentiment on first. That way I know where to position this whole sunflower. And everything's looking good. So I'm going to put the glue on that centerpiece. You're not really going to see that, but you might. And that's why I made it a really bigger circle, because you might see it through there. And sunflowers have those big brown faces for all their seeds. So just in case you see it through the petals. Now, you don't want a good pair of sharp scissors. And I've got my silicone mat. I'm putting some of my liquid glue on there, spreading it out. And then here come all the leaves cut out of those dyed panels. So before you glue anything down, we're going to do dry fitting, okay? We're gonna play with the leaves we have. Some of them can be cut and snipped to fit, And because of the way that these were die cut, some of the leaves got like their little tips cut off or didn't make it onto the, you know, like they got halfway die cut or whatever, and that's fine. Just cut those ones off and use what's left, because this is the floppier and fluffier that this looks, the more it just says fall, autumn, pile of leaves, sun. It's just all fluffy and fall. I love it. Fall fluffy. So yeah, now it's just a matter of positioning all the petals, seeing what works where. Now this die set does come with leaf clusters as well as single leaves, and so first I am starting with the clustered leaves because they are going to cover more surface area faster than just the single leaves. So once I get those placed, then I'm going to use the single leaves, or the leaves that I have snipped off some of these bigger ones. But again, don't start gluing until you do a dry fit, because you're going to see how I'm going to move these around once I get them eyeballed here. And the gluing process is going to take a while, so you're going to see me just do this. But see how I put that orange, the second layer in, to see how far up I should be pushing the yellow layers out. So, and you can see, obviously, underneath some of those yellow petals, you don't see that brown circle. But that's fine, because again, this is going to be layered and layered and layered and fluffy, and it's going to be like it's just going to be awesome. So, readjusting that yellow layer. Once you get the yellow layer in, it all is going to go down from there. But again, starting with the big clusters, the biggest leaves, and then I'm going to fill in with the single little leaves. And those yellow ones are going to be glued down. I'm not going to show you the gluing process because there's a lot of leaves to glue down, but just so you know, once the yellow layer is the only one that you really have to do this dry fitting for, because once you do that, the rest of the layers you're going to pile the orange, the light orange layer on top of the yellow, and then the bright orange on top of the light orange. You can see how I used to see the single leaves there just to fill in some of the blanks. I love it. Nothing goes to waste here. Every leaf that got snipped off is going to get used. And after all of these layers, so there's 3 layers, right? The yellow, the light orange, and the dark orange. So after these layers of leaf petals have been glued down, I am then going to take my tweezers, and if I have any extra single leaves left, I'm going to tuck them in and around all the leaves and the layers, and that's what's going to give it that extra fluffy look. You'll see in the finished card. But no leaf will go unused unless you want it. You know, you don't have to have the biggest, fluffiest sunflower around, but I thought it was fun. So here I am. I'm just showing you where these would go. Again, like I said, I'm not going to glue them down in this tutorial because that's just too much time. We all know how to glue. I got you. You guys got this. This is great. Look at that. Look at that color. See how the colors are building? Oh, I love this. And you see, I am just putting in so many of them. But like I said, once I only get so many in, then I am going to come back in and I'm going to fill in with all those single little snipped off flowers. So it is going to fill out. And then here's the little acorn clusters from the same die set. And I used those to represent the seeds of the sunflower. I thought that was pretty cute. And there you go. It's going to get all glued down. It's going to get all fluffed up with extra leaves and all the layers. And I just love this. I think this tells everything about fall for me. I hope you like it too. And I hope you guys had fun on the hop. Don't forget, there is also a giveaway. So read the description box below for all that good stuff. We got extra leaves to play with. Thank you so much, you guys, for hanging out with us. And we'll see you later.